Okay. You're on. Jenny is not here, but I tell her we are here.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh,
And there she is.
yeah, there she is. Baby.
She's connecting to audio.
Oh, there she is.
Good evening.
Okay.
Good evening. Hi.
Hi.
I'm going to keep my microphone muted. So, hi, everybody.
She's in Ohio.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. That's why she's not here. Ohio's a little far of a drive on a Monday night.
Yeah, especially at the Okay. Well, last week, basically what I want to introduce you to is that probably everyone in this group already knows that we're all one. Okay. Now, my background's in physics, and my quest from a young age, really young age, was what's the nature of reality? That's why I went into physics to start off with. When you get into physics, you're getting into equations, stuff like that. But junior year, you get into something more substantial, getting into quantum physics. Once you get into quantum physics, you get into a thing called the observer effect, which is consciousness. Okay. So quantum physics kind of ties consciousness to the spiritual parts of things. You go into the Bible, John chapter 1, verse 1, which says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Well, if you go back to a further edition, rather than King James Version, when you go back to Greek, it says, in the beginning was Logos, which means in the beginning was logic and reason. Okay. But if you go back even further than that, in some of the original text, the Aramaic text, it says, in the beginning was consciousness. And consciousness was with God, and consciousness was God. So if you have a consciousness, you have a direct link. You don't need anybody else to communicate with you. So if everything is consciousness, and everything around here is consciousness too. Now tonight we're going to talk a little bit about pendulums, and probably next week get a little bit more into it. But how many people have used pendulums? Feel comfortable with them?
I started using it this weekend.
Okay, is everyone can program their own computer, their pendulum, right? You know how to do that? Yes, no, I don't know. Yes, maybe, all kind of stuff. Using charts, you use charts as well.
Sometimes.
Okay, you can use charts, you can use maps. Have you used it to find things? Like last week when I came here, I was half hour late because I couldn't find my wallet. My wife had to get dressed and drive me up here. So I went home in a panic. Gosh, I gotta find my wallet here because I'll get all my information there. Okay. So well, maybe it fell into the trash. So I was going through the trash because I was cleaning out my room. I had some trash and stuff. And I said, maybe it fell into the trash. So I've gone through the trash. They said, well, no, it's not there. So I said, maybe it's in my bedroom somewhere. So I'm going through all the bedroom, turning everything upside down, trying to find it.
Maybe it's in the refrigerator.
And then my wife said, why don't you use your pen? It's like, So got my got the pendulum out, and I said, is my wallet in the car? No. Is my wallet outside somewhere? No. Did I leave my wallet at the store? No. Is the wallet in the house? Yes. Is the wallet in the bedroom? No. Strange. That's why I was 100% sure it's what it be. And so I said, okay. Is it upstairs? Yes. So the only place it could be is in the hallway upstairs. Okay. So I went upstairs. Once I got upstairs, I didn't use the pen to say where is it? Okay. I said, okay, it's got to be in the hallway, it's a very short hallway. I looked there, sure enough, behind the box. Apparently I was taking my shower, I put the clothes on this box, and apparently the wallet fell out because the pocket's kind of loose, fell out behind the box. and you couldn't see it if you just walked. So I looked behind it, sure enough, there's a wall.
Wow, that's cool.
Okay, now, the other thing I've done too with the pendulum is, as part of this metaphysical group, and I was telling them about the pendulum, and so you can be in a metaphysical group and not believe everything, right? Because I was saying, well, you can use a pendulum to find things, because I've had so much experience with pendulum finding things like that. It's just like, it's a second nature to me. So one of the meetings I said, I can find anything you want. So the guy says, here's a quarter. He said, find the quarter. I said, okay. I tell you what, I'll leave the room. I'll go in the other side of the church. Out of church. I'll go way in the other side of the church, the bathroom there, close the door, and you hide the quarter anywhere you want. And I'll come and find it for you. He said, well, I don't believe it. So I said, yell out when you're ready. So I heard him yell. So I came back into the room. I did because you do it with a pendulum, you have to have two directions. It's in this direction, then you move somewhere over here somewhere, and then it's in this direction. And where the two crosses point, that's where the thing is. So I go there. Okay, it's in this direction here. And then I walked to the other side of the room. So just here, I said, it's right in front. And what he had done is he just had taken, he had a cup. He had turned it upside down, put the quarter in the cup. He says, I can't believe it.
That is so cool.
And so it's like a big room, okay? And get my pendulum down right where it is. Now Megan and I have started with this. We really haven't culminated too much, but finding George. That's something I'd like to do. If not tonight, because I don't know if we're gonna be ready for that or not, but at least by next week, finding George. Now, finding George is the quarter. You got George Washington on the quarter, okay? And it's not necessary to touch it, but it kind of helps when you first get started. Okay. It's like Megan gave me a quarter. I said, okay, it's your quarter that you find it.
Mhm.
Well, she wasn't able to find it. However, she found when she's clean, right?
But I do want to say when I was looking for it though, I did the techniques what you're saying. Is it in this room? Is it upstairs? And like kind of like finding the room. That every time that I did do it and I put like the concentration in it, like I found money every single time, but I didn't find the quarter until I was cleaning, and I was like, "There you are, George." But it was cool. There's even like it was like in the china cabinet one time, and I was like, "Why would and there's a whole
Yeah, I had to put it on top of the shelf.
I found it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know where you put it. And I recognized it as soon as I was like, "This is it."
Yeah, years ago, I was looking for some tax information. I had filled out some tax forms. I need to have it for IRS stuff. And I said, okay, where's my tax form? So I did the pendulum. Okay, it's upstairs. I go upstairs, where's the pendulum? Okay, I found it, picked it up. Yep, it's a tax form, but it's the wrong year. Because I was asking for a tax form and I got one.
Yeah.
Okay, because it said the tax form is in the house, blah, 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 upstairs, all that kind of stuff. And so I was convinced that this is going to be it. I looked at it, oh my God, you've got to be very specific what when you're asking questions. Okay, so then I said, okay, my bad. So I did again. I said, is it in the house? He said, no. My tax form is not in the house. Okay, I said, well, it's got to be in the house. It's got to be in a filing cabinet or something. Surely not where else. Is it outside somewhere? No. Is it in the garage? Yes. What's my tax form doing in the garage? I'd never put it there. And so I went in the garage and I said, okay, where is it? It pointed over to this pile of boxes and stuff like that. I said, well, it can't be there. So I'm second guessing. Okay, that's one thing. If you get clear, don't second guess because you don't get the answer. So I said, okay, it can be over there. So I'm doing research. I said, no, there. Okay, where over here could it be? I'm not getting all kinds of bad answers. So eventually I said, okay, it's all got to be over here somewhere. So I dug through the boxes. Sure enough, somehow the documents had fallen behind something. And so once I dug the boxes, I found exactly what I was looking for. Okay, so, but you have to be, the other thing, yeah.
Good filing system.
Yeah, I have no idea how I got there. Absolutely no idea in this world.
That's where all my tax filings go.
The other thing that my son and I used to first start exploring this stuff first got familiar with pendulums is my son and I never got Megan too much involved because she was hanging out with some friends at the church and stuff like that. I never felt like it was really, I never made a connection with her that way, even though she was psychic, very psychic at a very young age. If I ever lost something, she says, "Oh, Daddy, it's over there." Sure enough, it was there. And so I said, "Did she put it there?"
Yeah, I didn't think the train on wasn't.
But so I worked a lot with Trevor. We did the silver mind control system. We went through the training, several weekend training for doing that kind of stuff. We went some silver mind control stuff down in Atlanta, a whole bunch of things like that. But one of the things we did was the pendulum. And this is the thing we're going to be doing as well, is flipping a coin. When you flip a coin, you should get 50% heads, 50% tails. Okay, if you just randomly choose it, yeah. If you just do it 2 or 3 times, you're going to get heads, tails, just like that. You can't be me. But if you do a number of trials, like 10 or so, 10 or more, you're going to get 50% heads, 50% tails, because that's the way it is. Well, what Trevor and I decided to do was try to predict, is it going to be heads or is it going to be tails? Okay, just as a trial case. So we started flipping, we started, okay, use the pendulum, it's going to be heads or tails. Okay, got the answer, flip the tails, no, wrong. And we pendulum again, flip it, wrong again. But this is the point I was trying to break here. What I said is, will the coin land on heads? Well, it was landing on heads, but tails were showing. I said,
Yeah.
will land on heads. I intended to mean heads showing because that's normally what you do. So, oh, it lands on heads. That's a typical language that you use. But your biocomputer or your subconscious mind doesn't hear that. It said it landed on the heads, and it did. So once I understood that, okay, good. We just stepped with that process. We just did the inverse of thing. So we'll land on the heads. So Trevor, what he did, he said, "Dad, can I use anything on the pendulum?" I mean, I had a little metal pendulum with a nice little gold chain, stuff like that. And he said, "Can I use anything for a pendulum?" I said, "Yeah, anything." So he went in the refrigerator, pulled out a zucchini, sliced off a zucchini, got a needle and thread, and stuck it into the zucchini, and that was his pendulum.
Wow.
Okay, because a lot of times you get crystals, you get all the special crystals, you get these little metal things that you put things into. That's all to help you in your process. Okay, has nothing to do with communications through your system. It's making you feel better. You've set an alter or how you want to think about it. It just makes you feel better. That's more conducive to bringing that kind of energy into yourself. But you don't really have to. If it's your belief, then great. It's fantastic. So what Trevor said, "Oh, I'll call my friend John Cobb." He said, "I want to predict to him." So he said, "John, I can predict exactly what your coin toss is going to do." And so Trevor said, "Okay, it's going to be heads." John flips on the other end. "Yeah, it's heads." "Okay, good." Flips again. "It's going to be tails." "Yeah, it's tails." 85% of the time. Typically, in any kind of psychic thing, to be 85% accurate is about the best you can do. I mean, I've never heard of psychics being 100% accurate. It's like 85%, which is pretty good. Now, if you take a look at flipping the coin and getting it right 85% of the time, the chances of that are astronomical. To get 85% correct. So it's like there's something more to this kind of stuff. So what Trevor and I decided to do is I put on my science hat. Okay. I went into the computer, I made some forms. We're going to track all this stuff over time. Okay. And see how good we do and see if we can progress past the 85%, that kind of stuff. Because I'm trained as a scientist. Okay. Yes. So I said, okay, we're going to do this. Put my scientist hat on, got everything done. Okay, Trevor, let's do it. 50%, 50%, 50%. We couldn't get over 50%. So I said, Trevor, something's wrong. Let's throw away the paper. Let's try it again. 85% accurate. So it's like when you put that critical mindset on things, and that's what I was doing when I was putting my science hat. I was putting that critical mindset in there. They said, okay, we're going to check this thing out. I don't know if I really believe it. You got to be, as a scientist, you have to be skeptical. That's just part of the whole process.
What's the science? That's science.
What's that?
Your science is that you you're just like thinking as a scientist?
Yeah.
Is that what you were?
Okay, I made the
All the
forms.
different hats you wear, he's a scientist.
Yeah, I
Okay.
had these forms and stuff like
I didn't
that.
know if they had like an actual hat. So I was like,
No.
where do I get one of these?
No. You got a psychic hat, you have the engineer's hat,
Yeah.
you
So
got
your
a
mindset.
fireman's hat. It's
Sure.
just your mind, just your
Yes,
mindset,
okay.
just your mindset.
That's
Okay.
a good question, wasn't it?
Yeah, someone needed to know the answer to that question.
She was thinking, well, where can I, where's the
Where
science?
does that, where can I get this science at? So anyway, so Trevor was on the phone with John. He got 85% correct. John's on the other end screaming, "How in the world are you doing this? You have a camera here looking at things?" I said, "No, we're predicting in advance." Okay, so this is some of the kind of things you can do. I can remember probably about 3 or 4 months after working with the pendulum and getting answers that I kind of, this is not what I would have answered. Because the thing about it is with pendulums, if you have a thought in your head that says, I want the answer to be yes, it'll be yes, 100% of the time.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
If you don't clear your mind completely, if you have some kind of stress on your mind, if you're not completely relaxed, your bias is going to come through the opinion. I mean, it will. I've done too many times. But when you get to the point where you're absolutely clear, you say, I have no stake in the outcome of the thing. It works 100% of the time. And last time I shared with you that I program my pendulum yes and no, and then if it goes clockwise, it's maybe, and counterclockwise, I can't tell you. Okay, that's just a book I was reading saying you do that kind of stuff. Okay, so okay, I programmed that. Well, I never, all my use, I never got, I can't tell you except for one time. When I asked the question, is there a God? They come back, I can't tell you. And I go, well, that's not fair. I was clear. Okay, I want to know, is there a God? And I can't tell you. So I said, okay, I'm gonna have to explore this more. So I started asking a bunch of questions. And what came back was, if you believe there is a God, you'll see God in everything. If you believe there is no God, you'll see God in nothing. God's nowhere. You just see it that way because no one can convince you. You know, if you're a believer, you don't need to be convinced. If you're not a believer, you can't be convinced. Okay. Now, some things I talked about last week too is I'll say here. What was the chunk says? When you get into this whole process, just like this 3 months or so into this kind of thing, I remember I have a 2-acre property out of Jonesboro. We have like a 1/4-acre pond on it, and sometimes I just walk around it for fun. And I remember one time I was working on the pendulum, and when you first start doing this stuff, you get a high. It is really a high. You think, my gosh, I'm connected to the universe. Okay, because you start thinking about consciousness, like that, and you start getting answers you didn't believe, and they're true. You say, I'm connected to consciousness, well, to this universe. I remember walking around one time, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I really am, because it's one thing to say we're all consciousness, but it's another thing to actually emotionally feel it. So I was walking around a pond, and said, I really am connected to the universe. Okay, and I can do it with this simple little device. Okay, yeah, and so that kind of thing kind of changes your life. But as you go through life, with a lot of kinds, like Meg and I have talked this a lot about awareness. Okay, there's a lot of things in our life we're just not aware of, and when you become aware of them, you start seeing in everything. It's what we call the red Volkswagen syndrome. Okay, you go out looking for a car, and you buy a red Volkswagen because it's unique. You've never seen a red Volkswagen in your life. Okay, but hey, it's beautiful red Volkswagen.
yes.
I'm special. I'm special. I'm special. Okay. As soon as you get in the car and you're driving home and you're feeling really good, what the heck? Okay. They're always been there. You haven't been aware of. So it's like anything else. Okay. We're all consciousness. We can know that intellectually, but can you feel it inside? And one of the things I shared last week was with Philippians chapter 4, verses 8 and 9. And I have a write up I'm doing. I'm not quite ready to distribute it yet, because I still got more work to do. Basically, what I want to try to do is everything we talk about here, all the exercises that we do, I want to have it on paper so that as time goes on, other people come in the group, they can just kind of catch up where we are. Plus, it's really a good way to keep notes. Okay, if you know what the different exercises are, you know some of the things involved in. But
For practice at home too.
yeah. See, that's the other point too.
Find your own George.
This is what we talked about before. Okay? When you come to these meetings, this is an awareness getter, basically. It's like, here's some things, maybe you've not been aware of, maybe you are aware of them, but maybe there's a different slant to it. But you can't just leave this here. This has to be a lifestyle. Okay, this has to be part of who you become, whether you're that way or not. If you get into this kind of work, it becomes part of your body because you realize that, hey, I'm much bigger than I think. Okay. The last week we talked about the biocomputer. It's like, we're just go through it very briefly, just summarize for people. Do you ever talk to yourself? Okay.
Anytime I possibly can, which is all the time.
The answer is yes. Everyone talks to himself. But then the question is who you're talking to.
Experts.
Okay. What I contend by the end of this, by the end of you're going through all these sessions here with the telekinesis stuff, is what you're going to be able to come to grips with is that you have a friend that's 10,000 times smarter than you, and that friend never sleeps, and the friend's with you 24/7, 365 days a year. Okay, and so. Well, the other part. Well, yeah.
Just ask.
So the answer to that question is, what does bio mean? This is the answer to that question.
Study. No, wait, yeah, study of.
It means life. Everybody here is a bio being, right? Okay, can you add 2 + 2? Yeah, so you can confuse. So everyone in here, the friend that you're talking to is a biocomputer. Okay, it's 10,000 times smarter than you. I have a number of patents, US patents, I have patents in Japan, and all of them come to me, but not because I'm so smart, it's because I turned it over to my biocomputer. Some people might call it the source, they might call it God, they might call it whatever, but it's something personal to you that you can experiment and validate in your own life that this is really true. Because all my patents, I would say, it would be a major challenge. And so we're trying to figure it out. Manager was pushing this to get an answer to it. And I'd say, well, I don't know what the answer is, but I know the answer already exists and it will be revealed to me. And generally, a very short period of time, the longest it's ever taken was 3 days to a very complex problem. Okay. And I was taking a shower, like on the 3rd day, I think, oh my gosh, we have to go back in there. We have no idea how we're going to solve this problem. So I was taking a shower and then eyes wide open, I saw a schematic in my head. Exactly what I needed to do. Rushed into work, pulled the team together. Here's what we need to do. Yeah, that would solve the problem. But if you know anything about large scale designs, it's like you've got several 100,000 computer transistors in this design. And some parts over here and some parts over here, and you have to have lines connection. Okay, because maybe some of the circuitry's over here and some of it's here, there's no way to connect it to. But because I've done this before so many times, I wasn't given the answer for no reason. I saw the schematic, here's the answer. We wrote it down the paper, I shared it with everybody. We went into the graphics design section. We made the changes, everything we need to have. One spot. All the signals, everything we need to have one spot. We just had to move a few things around. And within 1 hour of doing all those corrections, we shipped it, came back and solved the problem. And so people said, it must be a genius to do that. No, I turned it over. I just said, I don't know what the answer is, but it'll be revealed. Okay. It's the same thing. Everyone has had this experience. And we talked about this last week too. You have a song in your head. You can't think of the name of the song, but you can hum it. And you can't think of the artist's name. Gosh, I know it. It's like on the tip of my tongue. It could be anything, person's name or whatever it has to be, maybe a good friend. you haven't seen in a while. You think, I know the person's name, but I can't think of it now. No, just forget about it. Sometime later, you're washing the dishes, you'll be walking, you're petting the dog, and bing. Okay? The answer-
Barbara.
it just comes right to you. Okay? That's exactly what inventing is about. It's that same thing. Which is, I always said, I don't know what the answer is, but I know the answer exists, and it'll be revealed to me. But you can also say, I know what the answer is. I just have temporarily forgotten, and I'll remember it later. You can use that same process. You can use that same process to solve this problem. If you now see, I'm an inventor, so I read a lot about other inventors. Okay, how they think. Alexander Graham Bell is one person that I just adore from his way he thinks about things. Alexander Graham Bell, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, and a whole bunch of other people, great inventors. Find somebody who Tesla. Find somebody who you can connect with. Read your biography or autobiography, particularly. Edgar Casey is another good one. Okay, he's a kind of exceptional case.
Yeah.
Okay, but he didn't really invent anything. He just had that ability. Okay, now all these things I'm talking about doesn't help you a bit if you don't have a problem. I had a friend of mine, he said, Stan, I go home every night, I have supper, I go downstairs, I sit on the couch, waiting for God to tell me what to do. He said, but he's never answered. I said, what? He answers you every night you sit on that couch. He tells you sit on the couch and wonder what God wants you to do. You're doing exactly that's what you want to do, and that's what God wants you to do. Because who is God anyway? God is consciousness. God is your consciousness. And that's what I told Megan, God is the ocean of consciousness, and we're a drop of consciousness. Okay? So we don't have the same kind of power. But it's like, why do we dream? Okay, if you're in design world, if you know design techniques and you know the person, you can probably tell, hey, this person designed that, because you can see certain characteristics of that. So any kind of design has a process. Every design has a process of some type. So you say, well, how was the universe created? There had to be some kind of process, something involved. If you're in physics, it's Big Bang, which is stupid. Okay, you take a look at theoretical physics, it's just a bunch of people just saying, well, we've got these wormholes, we've got this string theory that we talked about last week, but the string theory, that's all putting a Band-Aid on a pig, or lipstick on a pig, I should say. Okay, putting lipstick on a pig, because you can't explain anything, because in physics, you can't have miracles. But the Big Bang is the one miracle that's allowed. Okay, so they try to say is, how does consciousness arise from matter? Matter just was created, and then consciousness was created from that. Okay, and I never bought that from day one, even though in physics. Okay, and I would say probably 90% of the students who went through physics wouldn't believe it. This is just what we were told. But when you get into the other part of it is, does matter arise from consciousness? Okay, so you start looking at those kind of things and say, okay, why do we dream? What constitutes a dream? Okay, you're dreaming. When you dream, at least for me, I don't know about for everybody else, but when I dream, it's just like full emotional, full color. Okay, when I wake up in the morning, I'm wondering, was that real?
Yeah.
Was that real? And I had a dream one time that I suffered for maybe 5 years about it. Okay, because in my dream, I killed my brother. And it was very visceral. Okay, and I had to call him to verify he wasn't dead. Okay, it was just so real to me. So it's like you're creating a reality in your dreams. Okay, maybe since you're consciousness and there's a larger consciousness, maybe we're just in that dream too. Okay, maybe we can create, if we understand that we're all consciousness, and that when you're using a pendulum, you're asking a question, you're asking that consciousness, that you're a part of it. You're a part of that whole thing. And we had some kind of a discussion last week about what you call it. You call it mind, you call it force, you call it matrix, I was using matrix only because physics, we call it matrix because it's a non-spiritual term. Okay, if you look back at quantum physics, they use the term matrix. Okay, but for me, I like mind better. But a lot of people don't like to use God because there's so many things associated with that, so many different religions and thoughts and
It's not
like that.
tangible except through thought.
Right.
A place that only exists in thought and consciousness.
Now, one of the things I'm writing up, I'll have you guys see sometime later is what's the name of God? What's God's name? Okay. Now, if you go through the Bible, I mean, there's like 30 different names.
Yahweh.
Okay. Now, the primary ones are Yahweh and Jehovah. The Jehovah's is kind of an anglicized version of Yahweh. Okay, because Yahweh's in the Bible, you don't see Jehovah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you look back, if you look at the Greek symbol, I mean if you look at the symbols for that name, it consists of four symbols. It consists of four symbols. The first symbol is, you go back to the oldest text that I could find. The first symbol is a hand. Okay. The second symbol is an eye. The third symbol is a nail. And the fourth symbol is an eye. Okay. The way you read it, you go from right to left. Okay. So if you look at the symbol, that's originally printed. It starts with the hand, the eye, the nail, and the eye. So, well, why is that the name of God? Okay. And then later on, it goes from hand to window to nail to window. And then later on, when they had the alphabet, it goes from like Y to H, which looks like a window kind of thing. And then a nail, and then H again, or a B or a W. So what's the meaning of all this stuff? Why was that considered to be a name of God? Because people in the old days are smarter than we give them credit for. Okay, so what they look for is, okay, you have a hand that sort of controls everything, makes things happen. It's invisible, but there's something direct. People notice that kind of stuff. So the first eye is what's in your mind's eye, what's in your imagination. And then the nail represents fixing that thing in your imagination, fixing it to the eye that you actually see, the physical eye, what you see there. So you have something that you're not sure what it is, kind of invisible hand, that takes what's in your mind's eye, then nails it or affixes it to the physical world. So it's essentially a law of manifestation or law of attraction type of statement. Okay? You have something in your mind, and then it becomes reality because something is directing all that kind of stuff. Okay, but so that's what people name God, Yahweh. God doesn't call himself Yahweh. Okay, what does he call himself? The only passage in the Bible that's all I am. Okay, in Exodus, I forget. I have it on my write up, but I forget the exact verse. But it's in Exodus. And it says, "Go tell the people that I am has sent you." Okay, so God refers to himself, at least in that passage, if you want to believe that kind of stuff, refers to himself as I am. So for yourself, like I said, some of the things I've always said, like in high school, I was valued for my school because I always saw myself as a 100% student. I said, I am a 100% student. Okay, and I performed at that level. And I was valedictorian, no surprise. Okay, I was most valuable player on the track team and football team because I saw myself that way. Okay, and I performed at that level. And people would say, well, geez, you're just naturally smart and you're naturally athletic. I said, no, it's not true at all. Come over to my house and you'll see I got a pole vault pit, I got a high jump pit, I've got pulleys for my legs, I've got a large hill that I run up to practice my sprints. Okay, I do deep knee bends. At the time I was way a lot less. I could do deep knee bends at one knee 100 times. It's up and down. Okay, I could go up to a bar that's about maybe 2 inches shorter than me I could just walk up to it and jump over it. They always called me frog when I was in high school, okay? Because I never learned how, because our coach, track coach, was a shot putter. Okay, well, I probably did more playing shot, throwing discus than I did actually doing practice. Okay, he just said we'd put the shot for the discus. Everybody was doing, all the sprinters, everybody did, because that's what he taught. Okay, then he would say, just go run someplace. He said, I don't know what they would do. I can't tell you how to high jump. So I never learned how to run jump. I just walked up to the bar and jumped. And so the other coaches when that meet said, my God, this guy could jump 5'8", just standing still. What's he gonna do when he runs? Well, I didn't know how to. Plus the fact that I ran a mile and a half. So usually you start your field, so maybe you do the pole vault and the high jump, start in it, then here comes the mile run. Short after that. After the mile run, I usually almost every one at a time. After you run the mile, your legs are jelly. There's no way you're going to jump and put, you know. So usually by the time I ran the mile, I was done. However, where I was. Okay, but all this stuff is just it's how you program yourself. And the whole idea of all these things is to make your life stress-free. Because if you're putting yourself at a certain level, you believe yourself to be a certain thing, you're going to perform at that level, and it's not stress. Okay. If I see myself as a 100% student, it was never stressful for me. Okay. I just expected it. And so people said, man, you must be really stressed out. Why? This is who I am. I program myself to believe this is who I am. There's nothing to be stressed about. And, I was
too blessed to be stressed.
Yeah. And it's like my chemistry teacher in high school, he said, I'm tired of giving you hundreds. So what he ended up doing was he gave questions on a chapter we had not covered yet, and I got in there too. So what does the person who sees themselves being a certain level do in a situation? Did I get mad? No, that's kind of productive. What I did this weekend, I went down to Cincinnati to a used bookstore, bought a chemistry book from 1940s, early 1940s. I bought one from 1950s. And then we had our textbook that we had in class. And I read 3 chapters because this wasn't going to happen to me. Okay? That was just my mindset. It wasn't stressful. It's just what I needed to do. I never felt stressed about it. Okay. And as a result of that, when I took the standardized nationwide test, I was 99% of the nation. And my chemistry teacher said, how'd you do that? He said, there were questions on soap bubbles there. You got them all correct. We never talk about soap bubbles. I said, well, about 2 weeks before I took the test, I was in a bookstore. I just happened to see a book on soap bubbles and it attracted me. And I was never interested in soap bubbles before and never since. Okay. Some part of me told me, hey, I need to read that book. So I bought it. And he says, I can't believe it. Bring those books in. I want to see them. He thought I was kind of making it up or something. So I brought the 2 textbooks, chemistry textbooks, and the soap bubble book in. He said, my God, I can't believe it. What pushes you to do this? That's my level. That's where I think I am. So it's anything else like that. It's just like put yourself in that, be stress-free, and perform at that level. Okay, now we'll begin to depend.
I was going to say 3 minutes in our recording will have to be restarted.
Okay.
Continue. Sorry.
2 minutes and 57 seconds.
Yeah, 2 minutes and 58 seconds now. Go ahead.
So anyway, all this stuff is that if you understand that you have a consciousness, it's tied to God directly, to mind, however you want to look at it, that you are a part of this whole thing. And when I was growing up, I'm part Cherokee. So part of the kind of understanding in my group of people, whatever, is that never have a bad thought. Because if you have a bad thought, maybe you don't do it, but some other weaker mind will, because we're all connected together. So, like last week we talked about the mob mentality, where you have maybe 1 or 2 people all excited about something, and they get all the other people doing stuff because they're not thinking. They have an open mind about stuff, and they're accepting these other ideas from other people. Now, I shared something with Megan that she doesn't believe. Yes. Which is
Holy,
fully,
holy.
which is your thoughts are not your own. Now, this is something that I've had friends talk about. I have a real good friend, Charlie. Okay? He said, Stan, I got such terrible, terrible thoughts.